Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunnavadi Paschatya Desatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya. Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Pravijacharya Story Shishimat, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki. Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Pravijacharya Story Shishimat, His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki. Ananti Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki. Nam Acharya Silajidas Thakur Ki. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki. Sisi Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Sham Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki. Vrindavan Navadip Dham Ki. Gangamai Jamunamai Ki. Bhakti Devi Tulasi Devi Ki. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki. Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from the Transcendental Diary compiled by Hari Suri Prabhu. It's chapter 5 in Los Angeles, June 8, 1976. And the day was Bhima Nirjal Ekadasi. So Nirjal Ekadasi, Prabhupada didn't really say that we should fast on Nirjal, a dry fast, and I haven't read that so far. But if you have broken your fast, you observe it the next day. That's what he said. So it's quite interesting that, but it's not bad if you could fast and chant many rounds. That's another topic, but anyway. So, reading, during this walk, Srila Prabhupada continued to promote discussion on his thesis that God is the Father and nature is the mother. He argued that life cannot come from anything other than life, as we can see practically that every living being has been generated from another. So the discussion here, and I'll paraphrase, is based on, God is the Father and material nature is the mother. And the Father plants the seed, and material nature produces the body, just like the mother. That's why the mother is so attached to the body of the child. You'd find that, from the father and the mother, the children are generally more attached to the mother, in most cases. And in most cases, they are attached to the mother because the body comes from the mother, and the mother is also attached to the child. So in the verse in the Gita, in the 14th chapter, text 4, you'd find that Krishna says that I am the seed-giving father, Ham bija prada pita, I am the seed-giving father. So Krishna is the seed-giving father, and material nature is the mother. Then Prabhupada used the example of a tree, because this applies to all forms of life, not necessarily just human species, but all forms of life. Krishna is the Father. And then he gives the example of a tree. It grows in the ground. The seed comes from the tree and grows in the ground. Thus there is father and mother. Very quite interesting, we don't think of it like that. Even just like bugs, cockroaches, they are born from perspiration. Some are born from eggs, some are born from perspiration, some from seeds, some from the embryo. But all in all forms of life, Krishna is the seed-giving father. Just like sometimes you plant seeds, but they don't grow. Also, isn't it? You also have that. So you can conclude that Krishna is not there. Anyway, that's an interesting point. Then he rounds up that paragraph. The perspiration is the condition supplied by Mother Nature for the body to develop in. The Father is God Himself, who puts the living entity into that situation via His agent, Yamaraj. So these type of concepts, sometimes it's hard to grapple on, and but it's easy to understand that life comes from life. At least we can understand that you had a father and a mother, and your mother and father had a mother and father, and it goes backwards. Life come from life, from a person. So Harisuri told Prabhupada that he was confused, how life can come from perspiration. But the laws of nature are so subtle, and sometimes we cannot understand it. And Prabhupada said, you have a dull brain. You have cow dung in your head. Cow dung. You cannot understand these things. So the discussion continues, and it moves on to the discussion on karma. And karma is not easy to understand. Sometimes we often say, when somebody is challenged or in different ways, he's getting his karma, or he's getting his, he's paying for his karma. And different ways you look at it. But it may not be so, he's getting a reaction, but you don't know what the reaction is for. You may conceive the reaction to be, that fellow, he didn't like me, he told me all kind of things, he hurt me or my feelings, so he's getting reaction for that. But it may not be so. We would normally think like that, right? When somebody does something to us. Yes. So the discussion is around karma, and Prabhupada is saying like karma for animals, they're already in that body, that lower body, and they're suffering in the lower body. So they're already getting a reaction. So if the dog bites you, the dog don't get a reaction. But if you bite the dog, you'll get a reaction. You get it? And there were cases like that. Some people have bitten dogs. Even you can Google it, bitten dogs. Because they are acting under the force of nature. And Prabhupada also said children at a certain age also don't get some reaction, and until they're grown up. I don't know the age though. But anyway, there's another point in the Bhagavatam which talks about a child getting reaction. So the animals suffer. The animals are souls suffering from previous sinful act performed in the human form of life, but they are now being punished by birth in the lower species. And so when somebody dies yesterday I was giving a talk to people in India, and they were raising some questions, and we're talking about dying in the different modes of nature. When somebody dies in the mode of goodness, then he goes to the planets where the sages live. When somebody dies in the mode of passion, he takes birth in the earth planet. But somebody who dies in the mode of ignorance, he goes into the lowest planets, lowest species of life. So, they are receiving karma already created. Just like you have a prisoner in jail. He's strictly controlled, he cannot do anything. His duration is already decided, his previous acts, and he's suffering. He has to just wait for his time to finish. It's like that. So this is karma. So animals, then they move to different species of life. But say, for example, now, all of a sudden, we're thinking of having some, maybe Kentucky or something, or maybe you want to roast a fowl or something like that. Then that fowl was meant to, or the hen was meant to live for 5 years, and now it's like, normally it's chickens people eat, right? So at 2.5 years, you decide to kill that chicken. Then that chicken has to take birth again to finish its lifespan. So you interrupt its lifespan. It's very, very, not very good. Can you imagine all the wrong we'd have done all in the past? So like that. So it degrades us. Then another devotee, Duryodhana Guru, he raised another question. And he was talking about Suchinam Srimatam Gehe Yoga Braste Abhijayate. That the unsuccessful yogi, after many, many years on the planets of pious living entities, are born into a family of righteous people. So he was talking about, basically was bringing the point that, they must have also been pious. So, past life, Prabhupada said, past life they had some good deeds. Therefore they have come to Krishna consciousness movement. It is called Agyata Sukriti. Besides that, whatever he may have in this past life, the movement is there. It is open for everyone. So everyone can come and take advantage, despite whatever he did in his past life. It doesn't matter. If he comes and if he's fortunate, if he chants, then he become advanced. People come to Krishna consciousness through this process, Agyata Sukriti. And what is Agyata Sukriti? Unknown pious activities. He maybe helped a devotee, he may have looked favorable towards the devotees. He may give them some water when they were in Harinam. We have this sometime when we're chanting, dancing, people bring water and give us, and there's unknown pious activities. But these unknown pious activities, in general, pious activities does not lead to devotion. But by rendering pious activities, by doing pious activities, it accumulates. It's like the sun, it draws the water from the earth and it forms into clouds. But you don't find rain immediately until there's sufficient clouds and there's a burst. So similarly, a person may accumulate a lot of pious activities and all of a sudden he lands in the Hare Krishna temple. The cloud burst, like a tornado or something, then he's here. So that's how they come. This is Agyata Sukriti. But pious activities must also be in the nature of bhakti. Like we're eating food for life. Food for life is in the nature of bhakti. Because we're offering it to Krishna and we're giving prasadam, prasadam. And when they eat it, they're purified. So Agyata Sukriti. So it's unknown pious activity. We don't know what the devotee must have done it previously. So unknown pious activities. That's what Prabhupada is saying. But the chance is given to everyone. It's given to everyone. And anyone can take to it. This is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's special mercy. Duryodhana Guru asked. Yes, Prabhupada affirmed. The devotees like to take advantage of Srila Prabhupada's presence to clear up any philosophical turbidity that they or others might have. Even having full faith in Srila Prabhupada and Krishna, there are many things which are virtually inconceivable until one is liberated, as we have seen over the last few days. So the walks which are almost the only chance most of the regular devotees get to engage in any kind of conversational exchange with Srila Prabhupada are peppered with variety of different topics, some of which can be very revealing. So, you have the scriptures, and the scriptures, and it may not be easy to understand them. The certain things you require a pure devotee to explain. It's not very clear, or there may be, the details are not given. The general principles are given, but the details are given by the Guru, by the spiritual master. He sees things differently. And as it says, which are virtually inconceivable until one is liberated. So we may not know certain things, we may not understand certain things. So in the morning, one of Prabhupada's very nice disciples, Bharadraj Prabhu, asked something applicable to Prabhupada himself. He said, I understand that a pure devotee can be as pervasive as Supersoul. By the mercy of Supersoul, he can be present in many places at once. So the Supersoul, it's nice to have a good understanding of the Supersoul, and we must read much about it, the 13th chapter of Gita. What is the function of the Supersoul? What it does? It permits and it oversees. It permits you to do something and it oversees what you are doing. So you can't get away from anything. Permitting and overseeing. That is the function of the Supersoul. So he wants to know whether they're all pervasive. There's only one Supersoul, but the Supersoul is expanded in everybody's heart. It's expanded, the Supersoul. It's like just like the sun, and there are many pots of water. But the sun is reflected in each pot of water, but there's only one sun. So it's like that. So it expands itself. And then Prabhupada said, yes, by the grace of Krishna, Prabhupada told him, a devotee can become anything. See, if Krishna wills it, it can happen. But the devotee is just the Supersoul is just the permitter and the overseer. And the Supersoul is directing that soul that is in a particular body, is being directed by that Supersoul. But the Supersoul knows everybody's body. But the individual soul only knows his body. He doesn't know about an next person. You get it? Unless the Supersoul reveals it to him. Sometimes that happens. So in other words, Duryodhana asked, that means that the pure devotee can be omniscient, meaning all-pervasive, knows everything. Everything Prabhupada confirmed, God is omniscient. So a pure devotee can be omniscient by the grace of the Lord. So he can be by the grace of the Lord. And there's many instances where, like, I always recall that pastime of how Malati and Shamsundar were imprisoned. Anyway, they were involved in some drugs before, and then they had to go and serve some sentence. And Prabhupada, he knew that was the laws of the state that had to be done. Because we have to follow the laws of the state also. And the laws, and spiritual laws. We have to follow both. But the laws of the state we have to follow also. It's not that you just kind of discard it if you don't like the law. But then, and they were going, and Prabhupada said, okay, it'll be okay in a few weeks, don't worry. You'll be back. But they went, and then they were quite a term they had to serve. But then the officer at the prison who was in charge For some reason, after a short period, we're signing off their papers to go. So, in a week, how was that possible? Unless the spiritual master, intervenes, intercedes or intervenes in such a situation. And it must be, Prabhupada would want his disciples back. Even we can conjecture or speculate on that, isn't it? He'll want his disciples back to practice. And the officer in charge is telling him, I don't know why I'm signing it, but I'm signing it. So yes, Krishna can also, Krishna's mercy is there, and Krishna's mercy come via the devotees, the spiritual master. So everything, Prabhupada confirmed, God is omniscient. So a pure devotee can be omniscient by the grace of God. Prabhupada could have understood well that person going to do this. It could be. But then, during Guru Puja, now it moves on to Guru Puja. Oh, anyway, this. Sisi Raghunath ki jai. There was also another point on the super soul. That's quite an interesting point. Once, Prabhupada asked, why is the sand crab running? It's actually running to the hole. Why is it running to that hole? What is the reason for that? What is directing it to run to that place? And the sand crab is running due to instinct. That's what scientists and philosophers conclude, that the crab is running to the hole through instinct. But Prabhupada said that there is no such thing as instinct. You'll use this word, right? Vidyapati, you'll use this in school. Yeah. What does it mean? Yeah, instinctively, yeah, but who's putting you in that direction? So the thing is, instinct is a word that is coined by scientists to cover up the fact that there is a super soul. That's what it is. That's what it is. There is God and there is past experience. There's two things. And then, just like Prabhupada give the example, that when you throw some grains, then the birds will come. Birds will come and then they will eat the grains. And then we will conclude that it may be through instinct. It's just coming there. But we said that it's the permitter and the overseer. The super soul is the permitter and the overseer. Because, like you in school and scientists, they think that it's done by instinct. And day after day, Prabhupada would blast this philosophy. And then he gave the example, suppose, you're living there, you're living in a place for about 20 years or so, and after sometime you return to the house. Maybe after another 20 years you return. You'll know where the bathroom is. It's like that. It's very intelligent. So he says, similarly, you have been in the body for many lifetimes, so you know to look for the mother's breast. Hey, Prabhupada was such a genius, And the baby animal is nudging for the mother's breast. Why? Because of its past experience, the past life. It is the super soul within the heart that guides the living entity. It is not instinct. It's not instinct. Instinct makes no sense. There are many other points we can make, but let's move on. I was going to finish this. During Guru Puja, Srila Prabhupada plays the gong. You know this thing, it's a gong. The devotees have supplied him a small gold-painted hammer with a decorative jewel handle. As the kirtan went on, today he tapped the brass-shaped gong, producing a vibrant, hollow tone as it rested against the asan's left rail. Prabhupada has an elegant way of sitting upright, not slouched, his head tipped slightly up, moving from side to side in time with the rhythm. So yes, Prabhupada was playing gong. Yeah. So kirtan is important, and I was just thinking, there's so many standards we have for kirtan now, I don't know which one to follow, but we should follow a good standard. I think Jayadvaita Maharaj, what he said sounds probably for me the best standard of kirtan. He sings in a very nice way. Yeah, so try to follow that, and you can read more about it from his books. Then the discussion moves on to the 6th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 1, text 42. This describes the Yamudutas' response to the Vishnu Dutas. The sun, fire, sky, air, demigods, moon, evening, day, night, directions, water, land, and the Supersoul himself are all witness the activities of a living entity. All witness the activities of the living entity. So Prabhupada continued with his theme about sinful activities and the Supersoul being the witness. But here he is, it's interesting because when he was in college, there was a professor. He said that the person, nobody is watching, nobody is watching your sinful activities. So you continue sin, and you can sin, so nobody is watching. But the concept of witness in the Vedic philosophy is different to other philosophies. It's completely different, because this verse highlights that every action of a living entity is witnessed by numerous entities, including the sun, the moon, the sky, the Supersoul. And it also says that one gets a reaction for the sinful activity he has performed. And it's recorded by cosmic witnesses, by these witnesses. They are the witnesses. But in terms of Christian beliefs, because he came from a Christian background and he was Scottish, they don't believe in karma or transmigration of the soul. They don't believe in these things. So he didn't understand that, you don't get reactions. There's no such thing as karma. So the concept of karma in the Vedic philosophy, it's an integral part of the Vedic philosophy, because it's suggesting a system of cause and effect governed by universal laws. And here's the idea of witness, Surya, Agni, they're all evidences, they have evidence. Just like when we have somebody who has done something wrong, then they call witnesses to the court. And the witness has to provide evidence, well, this is what transpired in the whole scenario, and then the judge decides. But for us, we already got the witness in our heart, the Supersoul. He already knows everything what we're going to do and what we've done in the past. So we just have to accept, whatever comes our way. So So there's so many ways you could look at it from a cultural context, from the implications of ethics and morality. There's different ways to look at it, to look at this point that Srila Prabhupada was making. And the good thing that Prabhupada was, it was an interfaith dialogue, but it encourages critical reflection on belief systems and their implications for individual behavior and societal norms. So, but anyway, in conclusion, Prabhupada's commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam offers a deep reflection on karma, because universal witnessing, in contrast to religious perspective. So we must look deeply into what Prabhupada had said, and we must connect it with the scripture, because everything is scriptural. He's giving more details when he's just speaking freely. He adds, he gives another dimension to things. So we have to be very, attentive in reading and hearing. So then the answer is here. We may not compare our inefficiency with the arrangement of the Supreme Lord. Now God has kept so many witnesses. How can you escape? If the sun, the moon, the super soul, how can you escape it? Vasudev, how can you escape it? Can't, right? So there's so many, and he goes on, and we'll skip that. Then he moves on to another topic of defective senses. Our senses are defective. And I'll just read a little bit. He condemned the empirical attempts to gain knowledge employed by the modern scientists. This is Vedic knowledge that don't be simply after these defective eyes. What is the value of your eye, of these eyes? There are so many things. Just like this morning we were discussing. Like you take a photograph from the sea. What will you see? Because if you take a photograph from the sea, but there are millions of fishes in the sea. There's gems. There's so many other things there. Can you take a photograph in the water? How many fishes are there? So what is the value of your photograph? These people they like taking photograph. But they would, with their defective senses, they are thinking we are perfect because we have got a photograph. Telescope. Therefore it is sufficient. It is made by you. You are defective, and whatever you make, that is defective. This is the conclusion. And Prabhupada also talks here about they have taken a photograph of the moon planet. And the moon, I don't know, perhaps you all know about the moon. The moon is known as Soma. There's a deity, a demigod. It is responsible for controlling the tides, and so many things that affects your consciousness. Sometimes you use the word lunatic. You know what lunatic means? Somebody is gone a little bit crazy. It's come from the lunar eclipse, yeah. So many things about the moon. But we won't talk so much about the moon. But one point, or maybe a few points, I thought, because last week the devotee was talking about, which Prabhupada spoke about, I mentioned in his previous morning walk conversation, was that the moon is above the sun. Is that according to material education? No. So the moon is above the sun. So if somebody to go to the moon, he has to pass many planets, but then he'll have to go past the sun and then go to the moon. So do you think they went to the moon? I don't think so. Even my granny was illiterate. She said, it's not possible. Not possible, she said. It's not possible. I remember because at that time they were going to the moon in, well, what year was that? Around 69 or something. Yeah, I was about 10 years old or 9 years old that time. And I remember very clearly. So they couldn't have gone to the moon. Because first comes Sunday and then come Monday. Sun, moon, like that it is. So then, but I was reading last night and it was and I read it before, but I just wanted to check it out on the 5th canto. It appears from these verses that aside from the sun and moon, there is an invisible planet called Rahu. There's an invisible planet called Rahu. The movements of Rahu cause both the solar and lunar eclipses. So we suggest that the modern expeditions attempting to reach the moon are mistakenly going to Rahu's planet, the demon's planet. That's why they will pick up some sand or something they will see there, but they won't see people there. But in every place there's people. There's living entities everywhere. So they have gone. Prabhupada wrote it in the Bhagavatam. So I copied it and I said, we'll just read it here. But then, in that chapter, it was describing like the planet of Rahu is like 10,000 yojanas below the sun. 10,000 yojanas means 80,000 miles. Because 1 yojana equals 8 miles. So 80,000 miles below the sun. And it also describes Achala and the lower planetary system. Rahu is situated below the sun and the moon. So they could have gone there. And in between these two planets and the earth, when Rahu conceals the sun and the moon, eclipse occur. Either total or partial, depending on whether Rahu moves in a straight or curving way. So then he goes on to explain all the lower planetary systems. Very interestingly, below Rahu, by another 10,000 yojanas, that's like another 80,000 miles, are the planets of Siddhas, Charanas, and Vidyadharas. And below that, there's like Rakshasas. And below this is the earth. And 70,000 yojanas below the earth are lower planetary systems. So it gives a very good description. So a Vedic civilization, a Vedic literature covers so much of information. So much more than any other scripture. So then, anyway, the discussion again goes on. Prabhupada is saying that, let me just read it. He told us to take the example of the Yamudutas who had heard about the laws of God from their authority. They never claimed to have understood through their own sense perception. He stressed it was necessary to hear from a person who has already heard. So he's talking about the parampara. Because the agents of Yamaraj, they are like scary people, when they come to take us away. It's very scary. But they have heard. They heard from their authority. See, it says, told us example, who have heard about the laws of God from the authority. They never claim to have understood through their own sense perception. He stressed it was necessary to hear from a person who has already heard. You must if you want to learn. Just like this morning, some people came to the program, Mangalarti also, and I was telling them that maybe it'll be nice if you could come 7 o'clock. So it may look like, it's better they come 4:30 because it's earlier, but it's better they come at 7 o'clock and hear the lecture and then go. So they'll hear. It's important to hear. and we must hear from the right source. So that discussion was going on, and then it goes on to a discussion on sincerity. I'll just read this one. This is quite important for us. The leading members of a Sahaja group wrote a letter to Prabhupada apologizing for jumping like monkeys. So what does it mean? Let's see if you can pick it up, right? Hitananda Maharaj delivered it and reported that they had obeyed Prabhupada's order and stopped having any further meetings. Unfortunately, a short while later, he came back and informed Prabhupada that Puranjan Das had abandoned his service at the Spanish BBT and blooped. This is a ISKCON word, blooped. Like when the water goes, you throw a stone in the water, bloops, like, make that sound, blooped. And you said he was sincere. Bloop means he left. That's what in ISKCON terms it means, he left. And you said he was sincere, Prabhupada remarked to Hidananda. So sincerity, it's quite a topic on its own. But what do you think was the discussion about? They are jumping like monkeys. What do you think it was? Huh? Yes, Bilba? Huh? Harinam, no. Okay, that's good. Harinam is always good. It's a very... see, the devotees, what they did, they were meeting privately, and they have selected topics on the intimate pastimes of Radha and Krishna, and they were reading that and discussing that. And that's when Prabhupada made this comment, you're jumping like a monkey. See? Because monkeys jump from one place to another, but they have hundreds of girlfriends, They're very austere, they got no house, they're very austere, they got no, and they live from one branch to another, they got no food, they just come here to our temple, they take some prashadam here, and but they have many girlfriends. Dozens of girlfriends. So they were choosing everything from the scriptures on this intimate pastimes and focusing on that. But then elsewhere, and it was not in this particular discussion, and but that when that came to Prabhupada was very angry. He was so angry that they were doing this. Because they were talking mainly about the conjugal rasa. And they were considering that paternal affection, like the pastime of Mother Yashoda, is inferior to Gopi Bhav. Because Lord Chaitanya said there is no higher way to serve Krishna than in the mood of the gopis. They were therefore concentrating on the gopis very closely. And as this was being told to Prabhupada, Prabhupada's anger flared, and he was very disgusted. He said, Mother Yasoda is less than the gopis? Is she less than the gopis? And they want to understand the siddha here, their form, of whatever relationship they have with Krishna. And Prabhupada was furious that such things could develop within ISKCON. He was disappointed. And therefore, he made that statement, and it was like this. By this time, the men were in this room for almost 3/4 of an hour. And he strongly rebuked the group, angrily refuting its reasoning. He compared their exclusive focus on the gopis to jumping like monkeys. That's how it comes about. But there's more to it. But there's more to it. Oh yeah, another time Prabhupada said, jumping, just like a monkey. over the head of your spiritual master. He said, you will become monkeys in Vrindavan from deviating from the order of the spiritual master. So we have to be very careful. We have to be very, very careful that we don't just delve in this. Not that your time will come by, you're purifying your senses and your heart. And when you want to get into these type of topics or read these type of books, then you ask your spiritual master. But then you'll say, well, the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Krishna book, it's there. Yes, it's there. But we are not honing into it to come to the point of conclusion where we're trying to imbibe that spirit, or we're trying to project our own relationship. We in that similar relationship, and we may not be. And that's such a dangerous thing. Such a dangerous thing. Because sometimes people think, well, when they read, hey, it's me. I'm a gopi also there in the spiritual world. So it's not like that. So to be very, very careful about that. Then Prabhupada goes on to his, this is a very interesting part, and I'll just summarize it quickly. It comes to a point where there's a discussion about him coming to America and how he got a no objection certificate. Because he was just joking with his friend that he wanted to go to America and somebody should sponsor him. And that man took it seriously and found his son, Gopal Agarwal. And Gopal Agarwal made that arrangement. So it was done. And then he said, and then he went to to Sumati Murarji to get that free passage. And anyway, there were other things. There was a P form to fill. And that's to so many channels in the government, state bank, like that. But somehow, the one person said, no, I can't do it because after 1 month the money will be finished. Then you'll have to come back. So he didn't want to take that risk. So he didn't approve it. But somehow Prabhupada told him, no, send it to your superior. And the superior approved it. And when Prabhupada was there, and when he saw Prabhupada, he said, okay, don't worry, I already approved it. So it was all arranged. So it's a great history. Then Prabhupada was saying that he had a heart attack. And devotees wanted to know more. Trivikram Maharaj, he prompted him to go on. And then you had a dream. Then Prabhupada, he didn't want to tell what the dream was. But he goes on to explain, yes, I hadn't heard this kind of detail, so I also wanted him to continue. What was that, Srila Prabhupada? Prabhupada smiled bashfully. The dream was, I must come here. That was the dream. It was some instruction that you got. This devotee is prompting. So I asked, eager to delve but trying not to demand. And Prabhupada said, the dream was that Krishna, in his many forms, was bowing the row. So what is called? So Prabhupada, what is called not bowing the row, but rowing the boat. Rowing the boat, I offered, rowing the boat. So yes, and I arrived in Boston and I wrote a poetry. He continued for a few minutes, describing his first year in brief, how he kept extending his visa, and how another heart attack forced him to return to India because he thought he was going to die. When he boarded the plane, he said that Brahmananda and others were all crying, thinking he would not return. But 6 months later, he did come back, and shortly after that, this Los Angeles center was started in earnest. It was wonderful to sit and hear him recall his efforts to spread Krishna consciousness, and again it drove home the great personal sacrifice he made, ultimately just for our benefit. So that poem that he wrote, and that poem is a lecture itself. Giriraj Maharaj gave a whole class on it, on the poem itself. But within that poem, Prabhupada touches on many, many points, but one point was about hearing. Sinvatam swakata Krishna punya sharvana kirtana ita antustani abhadrani vidunati suhir satam nityam bhagavati sevaya. That verse, Bhakti Rutama Sloka, Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki. All these verses, and he speaks about hearing and how just by hearing, by focusing on hearing, then all that unwanted thing in the heart is removed. It's a very moving poem, the way he writes it. He quotes all those verses from the Bhagavatam. Just by hearing, all those things will go away from your heart. And then you will get Krishna. So the whole process is hearing. And when we have more time, we can talk about that. And it's 8:30 now. So any questions or comments? If you want to share anything, also it's okay. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki. Hare Krishna.